Like more under center stuff? What other things have you?
They're obviously the zone read's not there, even though Jacoby is capable of keeping it and taking it. As I stand here, they're probably going to run one just to run one maybe, but no, he's in Jacoby's still capable of doing everything that Kyler does. But for the most part, it's very close to the same.
The Rams had some success with 3 tight end formations. It's a copycat league. You're going to see it again, maybe this week from the Cardinals. What's difficult about matching up with that personnel grouping from a alignment, assignment, technique perspective?
If you have 3 tight ends who can, like in the Rams case, they've got 3 guys who are capable of both being effective in the run game and pass game. It becomes a personnel thing. You try to go small, they get big. You try to go big, they get small. They create 11 personnel formations. And you're just able to create more mismatches, from a personnel standpoint. I feel like the Rams, as they've gone throughout the year, 13 personnel hadn't been something they've done, and over the last 3 weeks, it's just getting bigger and bigger for them. I thought they did a really nice job with it.
What's the response been like this week from the defense in terms of practice and everything based on, what happened against the Rams? I mean, sure, it was a tough film to watch on Monday.
Yeah, no, it's like I said, it's a young group, and they're eager to learn. They want to fix mistakes. I thought practice today was outstanding. So they're in a good spot. It's obviously everyone has a bad taste in their mouth. Anytime you get 40 dropped on you, it's not fun. But we got a good group of guys. They've played really good football before, and we've had good games as a group. We've had bad games as a group, and we've just got to find that consistency as we continue to go through the year.
This is sort of a Christian McCaffrey question, but you look around the league, there's a lot of guys, so running backs now who are 3-down backs who do so as much in the pass game. What is that challenge as a defensive coordinator trying to prepare? Because I assume you can throw as many resources into stopping the run, but that guy could still find a way to beat you. What is that like?
It is a challenge, especially if there's complements around them. You can only a guy like Christian, who is an unbelievable running back, but then he's also a really good receiver. So who do you dedicate to him? So a lot of times you're having to dedicate a linebacker to him. And I said it a long time ago that it's starting to catch up a little bit, but I felt like the evolution of the running back far outpaced the evolution of the linebacker, where a lot of linebackers were, up until I feel like 2019 in the 20s, the linebackers were still big, old school run thumpers, and here you had guys like Christian McCaffrey running around just creating mismatches. And so now you've got to get a linebacker that's capable, but then that's now how are you going to defend the run? So there's balance. They create all kinds of problems, and they're showing up more and more throughout the league.
Are you seeing those guys running more routes than just the old Texas and option routes and things like that?
You look at Christian; he's got the full repertoire of routes. Studied Jahmyr Gibbs, same thing. The really special ones, they can run them all.
A touchdown to Devontae last week. What's supposed to happen from your perspective defensively?
Caught us in goal line defense. Won't get into too specifics with the schematic part of it, but it's kind of.
Farrell and Keon White and acclimating to Chris Kazarick and what you guys want.
I think he's doing a nice job. He's he definitely has something to him. Really excited about him and getting his feet underneath him in our system. We're asking him to do things that we feel like he can do, and I think he agrees with some of the things we're asking. But I think it's just a matter of him getting used to our calls, our words, our techniques, playing with your line games with your teammates and working off one another. So there's time on task there, but I think he's doing a really nice job.
Robert, it's always a challenge for the DBs when there's not a lot of rush. How do you keep these guys from fracturing, pointing the finger? Just how do you keep them together through the pressure kind of mounting a little bit?
I don't think that'll be an issue. The challenge is always for the D-line to get them in a hitch, and it's always the job of the back end to see if you can get an extra hitch from the quarterback. So we're rushing coverage. We play off one another. We feed off one another, and I'd be shocked if that ever happened here.
As far as the pass rush goes,
closer and closer to a return now, but in previous weeks were there times when he would help out the defense as a scout QB? And if so, what was it like having
Who are you referring to?
Brock Purdy?
Brock? It was fun having him out there. It's amazing, all these really good quarterbacks like Mac now, even when Brock, they're no-look passing and they're trying some stuff, which is what you're supposed to do as a scout team quarterback. And I'm like, can you guys chill on that? Because we got a young group. But it's great when you have those guys. I mean, even Adrian does a really nice job back there, from a mobility standpoint. But these quarterbacks are all, especially when they're veteran-like, they're working on their craft and they can get guys to run routes exactly the way we need them run. So they're very beneficial.
As far as the pass rush goes, given the injuries you've suffered so far this year, do you look at that as something you're going to have to scheme up for the most part this year?
Yeah, I think Kaserik does a really nice job working from a schematic standpoint. We always have our pressure system and trying to find a way to create free runners and all that, and trying to create edges where where we're leveraged the proper way. But at the end of the day, you got to win your one-on-one, and I do think we have guys who are capable. I think Huff is still one of the better ones in football. I think Sam's proven to be pretty damn good. I think Alfred getting back in there is going to help. Kalia's finally got that cast off him so he can be more effective. So it's a work in progress because there's been a lot of moving parts and there is continuity that comes into play with that group. But I'm not too worried. The main focus is for us to get better and better and better, so we're peaking when we hit January, and especially with this young group. And like I've told you guys, there's going to be ups, there's going to be downs. Last week was down, obviously, but hopefully we can get back on the horse.
Tatum Bethune told us yesterday that Fred Warner's giving them a little space to kind of learn on their own instead of being in there saying, okay, this is what you guys need to do. Where have you seen that learning curve on correcting their mistakes?
There's always going to be, there's so much learning. And it's fun. I was, talking to the staff about it, and I was recalling, like Wednesday with a young group is a little rougher because it's a new game plan, right? And I told Tatum yesterday, I said, if Fred tells you that his Wednesdays were awesome in his first couple of years, he's lying. It's just there is a learning curve there, but you trust because of how hard they work and how important it is to them. You trust that by Sunday they'll hit the ground running. And again, that's on me too. Just finding that balance of what they are. We're all learning one another, and I mean, I'm actually having a ton of fun doing it. There's frustrating moments for sure, but there's a lot of fun because coaches are learning players learning coaches, and we're all learning this thing together. And like I said, we're going to get better every single week. I'm confident in that, and the main goal is to continue getting better so that way, like I said, in January we're hitting the ground running and see if we can do something pretty cool.
Good. How are you guys?
Good. How's Brock Purdy feeling?
Good. He's done more this week than he's been doing, and he's had a couple good days, and we got to see how these next 48 hours goes. But he's had one of his better weeks, and in terms of coming back from the injury, and we're hoping for the best.
Call his practices aggressive?
I don't know what that means. He's had good practices. He just looks more confident, and that's been the goal. So if we can kind of get through these few days and him progressing, we hope it stays in that direction.
How does his arm strength and like lower body mechanics look compared to like the way it looked this summer?
I wouldn't say I noticed a difference. I mean, I think that's the goal, is that it needs to look the same. He needs to be just as confident as he was in training camp, as he was in week one. And I feel like if we saw something that concerned us, we wouldn't be going this direction. So I would say it looks the same to me.
Kyle said yesterday that he could kind of feel that Brock was back up to normal speed. Did you also get that same sense that you could feel that he was just the way the ball was coming out?
Yeah, I think Brock looks good. I mean, I agree with that. I think he's had some good practices, and again, that's been our goal. Is we don't want to put him back on the field unless we feel confident that he can be his normal self. So.
Did the rain complicate things today?
Initially, it was bad. It was coming down, but our guys didn't really care and ended up kind of stopping there in the middle of practice. So we had a good day. Yeah.
What about Pearsall? What have you seen from him this week?
Yeah, he looks good. He's been getting limited reps, just kind of easing him back in, but he's looked good. I think Ricky's his mind is he wants to play, but we got to get to this week kind of like Brock and just get through it healthy and just get him back into it. But we're happy with where he's at.
Is he a full go, or would you say he might be on a snap count this week?
We'll see. I think it's too early to tell from that regard. I think he's a guy who, when he's on the field, is going to want to stay in there if he can go. But we got to be careful with him. We got to be smart, and we'll see how it goes.
I was saying that Brian Robinson's had his best game 4 weeks in a row,
Mm-hmm.
basically. What have you seen from him in terms of just more comfort level with the offense, or the fact that maybe he got the ball 3 or 4 times in a row to gain some rhythm? What's gone into that?
I think both of those things. I mean, the more he's out there, the longer he's here, the more comfortable he gets with our scheme and kind of how we see things in the run game. He's been able to get into a rhythm, in my opinion. I look at the New York game and last game where he's able to kind of stay out there for a drive and just get multiple runs in a row and just kind of impose his will on people. And then I think, when you look at his confidence, the things he's done for us in the kicking game, he's contributed to our team in meaningful ways, and his confidence has grown, and he's, we just hope it stays in that direction. He's doing a good job.
Even that Brock Purdy looked ready before week 1, but ultimately wasn't. When you're watching him on the practice field this week and you think he looks ready, is that in the back of your mind that?
Yeah, it's a fair question, but no, not really. I think you learn from those instances. You kind of learn more about Brock. He learns more about himself and how his body reacts to things. I think any player is going to want to go. Any player is going to want to push through things, but then you learn through the experiences, okay, what can I really push through? What maybe was wrong then that needs to feel better this time around? So I think it's just a learning experience for everyone.
What did Seattle do in the run game last week to Arizona, and is there a way you guys can replicate what they did?
Yeah, I mean, they did a heck of a job. I think they had, I don't remember how many carries it was, but just, they got out to a big lead in that game and really early. I think it was like 35-0 in the second quarter. So they were able to commit to the run game really the whole second half of the game. They blocked them well. They had a good scheme. Their backs do a good job breaking tackles. I mean, they put together a nice game plan. So, yeah, there's things we look at in that game that we can hopefully try to take advantage of. But, we got to do what we do. We got to execute. We got to be better than we were last week and hopefully, have some good run game.
Christian's ability to be flexed or put in motion or basically whatever you want to do with him, why is it problematic, it seems, or is it a problem that you don't get him and Robinson on the field at the same time?
Why is it problematic that we don't? That's what you're asking?
Or why don't you?
I mean, we've done it a little bit here and there, but, we could. I mean, it's definitely something that we talk about and that we do have in. It's not like something we're opposed to at all. But it just hasn't. I think the way games have gone, we just haven't gone that direction. So, but it's definitely something we do talk about and we have in from week to week.
I think Kyle referred a little bit to. I'm not sure he even understood it all, but the use of a fullback, the use of extra tight ends, all that stuff kind of contributes to
that. And some teams, it depends on how teams are playing you. Like some teams might treat that just as Christian as another receiver, and is that something you want? Is that how you want the defense to look at you? It just depends week to week, But when we put a fullback out there, we really kind of feel like we know what we're going to get from the defense. So some of that's part of it. There's different, it's just not something we do a lot, but if we started doing it more, you probably get a feel for how teams want to play you. But, it's just kind of something week to week we look at.
Is that a big factor in choosing personnel groupings, your ability to anticipate the coverage you're going to get when you use it?
It's part of it. I think defenses get better and better all the time about not letting you get a beat on that. I think that's what, most good defenses do now in this league is you don't know what they're going to be in. And so, but you try to, especially as games go on, how are they playing us in these personnel groups? Are we getting a feel for what they're doing? You try to anticipate as best you can. I mean, that's how you game plan people. But like I said, that's the NFL and defensive coordinators are really good at saying, hey, we've done this before. We're going to change it up. We're not going to let them get a beat on us. So it's part of the challenge every week.
Does Arizona's defense look any different to you now that they've added Walter Nolan up front?
No, not schematically. They look better. I mean, he's a really dynamic interior player, but they look like the defense they've been all year, which in my opinion is a very good defense. They've had some really tough losses in terms of one possession games that they've been in throughout the year. This is a really good team, and they're going to play hard. They're physical, and it's just going to be a challenge. And he only adds to that because he's a really talented player, and so, yeah.
We watched the film last week. What did you see from the offensive line? Maybe seeing some growth there?
Yeah, I thought in protection we did a good job. We dropped back a lot, and I don't know if we had any sacks, maybe one sack. So we thought we held up pretty good in protection. I thought there were instances in the game where we were running the ball well, but just the way the game went, we weren't able to kind of commit to the run for 4 quarters. I thought the guys played well. There's things we got to clean up, like always, but I think that group is growing and cohering, and hopefully we get some consistency with the same guys out there week to week. So.
The Mac Jones era is over with the 49ers. How gratifying was it to watch him sort of put his career back together?
I I don't look at it that way at all. You know, I mean, Mac's a member of our team. Right now he's our backup. You know, Mac's going to be ready when his number's called again. How gratifying was it that he played well? Very, because he deserved it and he earned it, and he had a great offseason. He's a great teammate, and when he gets his op again, he's going to be ready. So that's how I look at it.
Yeah, for sure. I can actually grab somebody now, you know, and get back to the regular schedule program.
Maybe people don't realize how much you guys are not at 100% and still playing throughout the whole year. That's kind of what this league is about sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah, NFL is, you know, there's going to be injuries and stuff, and you just got to go get a good routine and, you know, go about every week the same, and just, you know, and when there is an injury, next man has to be ready.
The other thing he talked about, he said he knew coming into this year, before everybody got hurt, it was going to be a young defense, a defense that had to kind of learn what each other were all about. But he expected that you guys would continue to improve as the season progresses. Do you get a sense that that's happening despite what happened last Sunday against the Rams?
Yeah, for sure. Young defense. I do feel everyone getting better each and every week. You can just look at the rookies in the D-line room. Alfred Collins, you know, how he looked from week 1 to now. CJ West, I feel like he just had one of his best games the last game and on short notice. And I just keep telling them, like, you know, each and every week, just pick one thing to get better. And I feel like everyone's taking that into account this year.
So when you have one like last Sunday, that obviously you want to move on from that, is this week kind of a defining thing for the defense to see how you guys react from a game like that last Sunday?
Yeah, for sure. Especially, you know, 40 points is just not acceptable. So, we were hard on ourselves in the film on the Rams game, and we just, you know, everybody was very hard on themselves and just, you know, making sure that we was going to be better this week.
How big does the chip get on the shoulder when you go through something like that? As you're driving home, you're like, damn, they hung 42 on us.
Man, I was just ready to get to the film, honestly. You know, 40 points is just, you know, not acceptable, like I said. But I was ready for a fresh week. So I was really ready for Wednesday to get on Arizona, honestly. You know, get the Rams game out of the week. This league is week to week. You know, they don't care about what happened last week. It's just this week that's ahead of us.
I guess different quarterback than you guys saw the first time you saw these guys. What differences does that present for you guys?
You know, with Kyler, he's a threat with his legs, but Jacoby Brissett, I got a lot of respect for him. You know, he's a pro's pro, and he's running the offense really well. So you know, we're gonna approach it like he's the starter, and we just make sure that we're better this week.
Kind of like the size of Roethlisberger. The guy stands in there.
Oh yeah, for sure. Kevin Givens was telling me I think he was at New England last year, and Givens got a couple sacks on him. And he was like, man, he's strong. You know, he feel like a running back. But yeah, we most definitely got to get after him this week.
Ricky, how are you feeling just being back the last couple of days?
I feel good. It's good to go out there, run around with the guys again.
How frustrating has this been for you?
It's always frustrating when, you know, you get something taken away from you like that. You know, just playing football as part of the game. You know, sometimes you get banged up, but yeah, it sucks. You know, anytime I don't get snaps and I'm not out there with my guys, it sucks for sure.
The team has said multiple times, like, they thought it would be a lot quicker. I'm sure you probably thought it was going to be a lot quicker. Were there little setbacks along the way, or was it just take time?
I wouldn't say there was setbacks, but yeah, I mean, we all expected me to come back early, I feel like, but I mean, if you look how, you know, PCLs recover, especially for like skilled guys like me, playing receiver, having to cut off this leg, you know, doing speed cuts, stuff like that. I mean, it's not a easy process just to turn around in a week and come back. And, you know, initially, yes, like I was telling myself, you know, come back as quick as possible, you know, and it just didn't turn out that way.
When did you start to feel like yourself?
After I started working on my basketball jump shot a few times, you know what I'm saying? I started feeling like myself probably just this week. I mean, anytime I start feeling like myself, that's when I feel like I'm ready to go, you know what I mean? And I'm not the type to not push through pain. I'm going to still push through pain, you know what I'm saying? Like, this ain't nothing to me. I've been far through way worse, you know what I'm saying? So I feel like this week I've been feeling like myself more, for sure.
What's the dynamic like when you have two quarterbacks who are both playing well, and you develop chemistry with one, and then all of a sudden potentially have somebody else that you have to develop chemistry with?
I think it just goes to show that, you know, we got two good quarterbacks on this team, two good leaders, and, you know, that I feel comfortable with either of those two guys out there, you know what I mean? And I'm happy to see Brock, back and healthy, just the same with me. And, it's going to be good to have him back out there for sure. But both the guys are dynamic. They can go. So, yeah, it's good to have two guys like that.
You said you're used to pushing through pain. Did that make that even harder for you to be patient and wait to get back out there?
Yeah, for sure. I feel like I don't really got too good of patience, if I'm being honest. So I always want to get out there the next day. My mindset was just each and every day, just feel it out and see if you can go, So I was waking up every single day thinking I was actually going to go that day. So I think that was just my mindset. But, when you play a physical game like this, you're always going to have knickknacks and pains and stuff like that you got to push through, But when it's your knee, it's kind of a different deal, you know what I'm saying? You got to be smart for sure, but at the same time still be able to, go out there and push, so.
Ricky, you went through college almost never missing a game. So I imagine this early part of your career has been a little frustrating because you're not used to it.
Yeah, for sure.
How have you sort of bounced back from that mentally and keep your
For sure. I think it's, it's easier the more, I get deeper into my career, the more mature I get as far as, having that same mindset, being mentally strong. But this is my first ever real football injury, you know what I mean? Like, yes, I've had a hamstring shoulder, but it's never kept me out of a game. You know what I'm saying? It's in the off season. So yes, you're going to obviously be more careful in the off season. But as far as injuries that kept me away from football, I never had one in college. It's my first one in the NFL. The first one I don't even count, you know what I'm saying? I'm out of my business that day. But but it just turned out that way, so yeah.
Ricky, how was it to get over it emotionally and mentally?
Yeah.
It was your first time.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I feel like, whenever you have an injury, whenever you have a nick in the road like that, it's going to be tough mentally. But, my dad always raised me to be mentally strong. I got guys around me like George right here to keep, me upbeat and have a positive mindset. And so it just makes it that much easier, Just coming here with a good mindset, be positive each day, just that much easier having good guys.
Your expectation is that you'll play on Sunday? Is that where your head's at?
You got to ask Kyle that one.
Ricky, there were weeks that you wanted to come back, but they kind of had to talk to you about easing into it and not rushing back.
I wouldn't say so, honestly. If I'm being completely honest, I didn't feel ready at any of those weeks. If I'm being honest, I was having pain, and I was trying to get to the point where I could push through it, and I feel like, I can't now. So. It was a process, man, and that was just my mindset.
Have you ever had an injury like this one before?
No, I've never had an injury with my knees at all. No.
Howdy.
Yeah.
Another battle with Buda Baker. Are you excited about that?
Always. Buda's played at incredibly high level his entire career. And they just do so much fun stuff with him. Their nickel 5 stuff, how he just he'll randomly play Mike, he'll randomly play different linebacker positions from the safety position. There's not really anyone in the league like Buda. He's definitely, we have to have our antennas up for him because he's such a good player and all the things that he does. But I always do enjoy going against him.
Do you talk to him? Does he talk to you? Do you guys talk back and forth?
Yes and no. There's games where we have a conversation throughout the entire game, and there's games that we don't say a word to each other until afterwards. And I don't know if there's any intent or anything. It's just how the game rolls sometimes.
George, you mentioned the other day that you think quarterback and tight end are the toughest positions in this offense based on the volume of what you have to do. And then you said Christian also,
yes.
Which is an exception. What is it like watching Christian take on that workload, and how does he manage all that is asked of him at that position?
Just seeing how our offense has evolved since getting Christian, and the things that we've done here in the last 3 years that we never did, just because of the ability of Christian and what he can do in the pass game. It's pretty incredible. Just seeing the evolution of our offense has been really cool. And the fact that, Shanahan challenges him to do all these crazy routes, and then he just kind of loves doing it, and he works really hard at it, studies, and he's always ready for those moments. It just allows your offense to be way more open and attack defenses in ways that they never get attacked.
Have you ever had a moment where you've seen him either in practice or in a game run a route or something, and you're like, what is he doing? This is kind of crazy because it is kind of unique.
He had a couple great catches today on the sidelines, some toe drag swags, I would say, which were really, really impressive. So hopefully we get those plays called so he can show off on Sunday.
Just talk to Ricky about this, about the dynamic where you have
That guy?
Yeah, that guy right over there.
Nice.
Not one, but two good quarterbacks. You develop chemistry with someone, and then you have to do it with someone else. What's that dynamic like for you?
Well, the good news is I've played with Brock for several years now, and won a lot of football games, caught a lot of passes from him. So I think and I spent an entire offseason with him. So I think that will get going pretty fast. And I feel like me and Mac just started rolling. So I'm just happy that we have two very talented quarterbacks that can both sling the ball, and just looking forward to playing with Brock again, though, because I thoroughly enjoyed just his energy and his leadership out there. So just looking forward to playing with him again.
George, Kyle had said 4 straight weeks that Brian Robinson has had his best game.
He told me that yesterday. That's crazy.
For your offense?
Say that again?
The power element of his running. What does it do for your offense?
Are you saying that Christian's not powerful?
No. She's a
Interesting. Your words. Okay. Your words. I'll tell Christian. Just when you have a back that on tape, just is truck sticking people, it definitely, the defense is alert for it, and then they're thinking about something differently. And it's always fun. I love seeing guys run over people because it just kind of sets the tone for the entire offense, gets the boys going, brings energy, brings the juice. I love it when we have multiple running backs who can run downhill, make big plays, because it just kind of eases the load on everybody else. Yeah.
You get to know him a little bit over the university last 2 summers?
Yeah. Trey's awesome. He got paid because he's a hell of a football player. He does everything they need him to do in Arizona. He gets 8 to 14 targets a game, and he deserves all those targets. He is, in my opinion, the focal point of that offense. When he's clicking and they're feeding the ball, he's getting them first downs, he's bringing the juice. He's a hell of a football player. So, yes, but, we've gotten to know each other. Thoroughly enjoy him.